श्री महाभारत कथा। श्री महाभारत कथा। महाभारत कथा। कथा है पुरुषार्थ की, ये स्वार्थ की, परमार्थ की, सारथी जिसके बने श्री कृष्ण भारत पाथ की। शब्द दिग्घोषित हुआ जब सत्य सार्थक सर्वथा। शब्द दिग्घोषित हुआ। यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत, अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य, तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्, परित्राणाय साधूनां, विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां, धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे।
And the monarch wandered about, hunting deer, and wild boars, and wolves, and buffaloes, and various other kinds of wild animals. This deer, however, wounded as before, fled with speed as the proximate cause of the king's attainment to heaven. And the deer that Parikshit, that king of men, had pierced was lost to his gaze, and drew the monarch far away into the forest. And fatigued and thirsty, he came across a Muni in the forest, seated in a cow pen and drinking to his fill the froth oozing out of the mouths of calves sucking the milk of their dams. And approaching him hastily, the monarch, hungry and fatigued, and raising his bow, asked that Muni of rigid vows, saying, O Brahmana, I am King Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu. A deer pierced by me hath been lost. Hast thou seen it? But that Muni, observing then the vow of silence, spoke not unto him a word. And the king, seeing him in that state, cast off his anger, and became sorry. And he returned to his capital, but the rishi continued in the same state. And commanded by his preceptor, he was coming home when, O best of Brahmanas, a companion of his, a rishi's son named Krisa, in a playful mood, laughingly spoke unto him. And Krisa said, Be not proud, O Sringen, for ascetic as thou art and possessed of energy, thy father bears on his shoulders a dead snake. Nay? And Sringen, wrathful and like unto poison itself, hearing these words in reference to his father, blazed up in rage. And Sringen, wrathful and like unto poison itself, hearing these words in reference to his father, blazed up in rage. And Krisa said, Be not proud, O Sringen, for ascetic as thou art and possessed of energy, thy father bears on his shoulders a dead snake. Ugh, Aniga. And looking at Krisa, and speaking softly, he asked him, Pray, why doth my father bear today a dead snake? And Krisa replied, Even as King Parikshit was roving, for purpose of hunting, O dear one, he placed the dead snake on the shoulder of thy sire. Having heard of a dead snake placed upon his father's shoulders, the son of the rishi, his eyes reddened with anger, blazed up with rage. And Krisa answered, King Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, while hunting, had wounded a fleet stag with an arrow and chased it alone. Nyan, Olanere, King Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, while hunting, had wounded a fleet stag with an arrow and chased it alone. The sage, being under the vow of silence, returned no reply, and possessed by anger, the puissant rishi then cursed the king, touching water, and overcome with wrath. And having thus cursed the king, from anger, Sringen went to his father. and saw the sage sitting in the cowpen, bearing the dead snake. And seeing his parent in that plight, he was again inflamed with ire, and he shed tears of grief, and addressed his sire, saying, Father, having been informed of this thy disgrace at the hands of that wicked wretch, King Parikshit, I have from anger even cursed him, and that worst of Kuras hath richly deserved my potent curse. May 7 days hence Takshaka, the lord of snakes, shall take the sinful king to the horrible abode of death. And the father said to the enraged son, Child, I am not pleased with thee. Ascetics should not act thus. We live in the domains of that great king. We are protected by him righteously. In all he does, the reigning king should by the like of us forgiven. That penance-practicing monarch was fatigued and oppressed with hunger. Ignorant of my vow of silence, he did this. A kingless country always suffereth from evils. And Shringan then replied to his father, saying, Whether this be an act of rashness, O father, or an improper act that I have done, whether thou likest it or dislikest it, the words spoken by me shall never be in vain. O father, I tell thee, curse can never be otherwise. I have never spoken a lie even in jest. Iarkhal. And Samika said, Dear child, I know that thou art of great prowess, and truthful in speech. Thou hast never spoken falsehood before, so that thy curse shall never be falsified. Imdir said, The son, even when he attaineth to age, should yet be always counseled by the father, so that crowned with good qualities he may acquire great renown. Wrath surely decreaseth the virtue that ascetics acquire with great pains. Peacefulness ever giveth success to forgiving ascetics. And that great ascetic observer of vows, moved by kindness, sent with proper instructions a disciple of his to King Parikshit. And he entered the king's palace, having first sent notice of his arrival through the servant in attendance at the gate. And the twice-born Gomukha was duly worshipped by the monarch. And he entered the king's palace, having first sent notice of his arrival through the servant in attendance at the gate. And after resting for a while, he detailed fully to the king, in the presence of his ministers, the words of Samika, of cruel import, exactly as he had been instructed. And Samika repeatedly asked his son to save thee, but there is none to falsify his son's curse. And the king, learning that foremost of rishis in the forest had been observing the vow of silence, was doubly afflicted with sorrow, and seeing the kindness of the rishi Samika, and considering his own sinful act towards him, the king became very repentant. And when Gomukha had gone away, the king, in great anxiety, without loss of time, consulted his ministers. And having consulted them, the king, himself wise in counsels, caused a mansion to be erected upon one solitary column. It was well guarded day and night, and for its protection were placed there physicians and medicines, and brahmanas skilled in mantras all around. And the monarch, protected on all sides, discharged his kingly duties from that place, surrounded by his virtuous ministers. And when the 7th day had arrived, that best of brahmanas, the learned Kasyapa, was coming towards the king's residence. But that prince of snakes, Takshaka, in the form of an old brahmana, saw Kasyapa approaching on his way. And the prince of snakes then spake unto that bull among Munis, Kasyapa, saying, Whither dost thou go with such speed? And he thought, I would cure the monarch after he is bit by that first of snakes. By that I may have wealth and may acquire virtue also. And the prince of snakes then spake unto that bull among Munis, Kasyapa, saying, Whither dost thou go with such speed? And Kasyapa, thus addressed, replied, Takshaka, by his poison, will today burn King Parikshit of the Kururu race, that oppressor of all enemies. Naim, Asas. And Takshaka answered, I am that Takshaka, O Brahmana, who shall burn that lord of the earth. Stop, for thou art unable to cure one bit by me. This. Sauti said, and Takshaka, after this, answered, If indeed thou art able to cure any creature bitten by me, then, O Kasyapa, revive thou this tree bit by me. And that tree, bit by the illustrious snake, and penetrated by the poison of the serpent, blazed up all around. But taking up those ashes, Kasyapa spoke these words, O king of snakes, behold the power of my knowledge as applied to this lord of the forest. And then that best of Brahmanas, the illustrious and learned Kasyapa, revived by his vidya, that tree which had been reduced to a heap of ashes. And then that best of Brahmanas, the illustrious and learned Kasyapa, revived by his vidya, that tree which had been reduced to a heap of ashes. And Takshaka, seeing the tree revived by the illustrious Kasyapa, said unto him, It is not wonderful in thee that thou shouldst destroy my poison, or that of anyone else like myself. No, Kasyapa said, I go there for wealth. Give it unto me, O snake, so that taking thy gold, and that foremost of Munis, viz., Kasyapa, of great prowess and gifted with spiritual knowledge, ascertaining that the period of life of that king of the Pandava race had really run out, returned, receiving from Takshaka as much wealth as he desired. The snake thereupon reflected thus, The monarch must be deceived by me with power of illusion, but what must be the means?
भारत की है